Jesse Ventura joins me now from New York. In his latest book, Don't Start the Revolution Without Me, he says Americans are a nation of lemmings and that the only difference between the two major political parties and street gangs are that the politicians wear Brooks Brothers suits. He blasts the two-party dictatorship in America and reserves special judgment for the chicken hawks who he said marched the country into war in Iraq. Jesse,
these two parties now have the United States of America $9 trillion in debt. I can't even imagine what $9 trillion is, but you know, most families, when you grow up and you're a parent, you work your whole life so that you can save up something so that when you die, you can leave something to your children. Well, all the people in America now that are saving up to leave something for their children, they better prepare, because their children, because of the national debt, are going to owe so much to the government that they're actually going to leave their inheritance to the government rather than their kids.
Here, Mr. Ventura, we've got a comment in your book where you were pretty critical of the Patriot Act, and it followed the attacks of, the Patriot Act that followed the attacks of 9/11. Now, taking an excerpt from the book, you say, the homes, offices and phone records of Americans can now come under surveillance without a warrant. We can be spied on overseas. The Fourth Amendment is basically gutted, referring to that what protects Americans from seizures and searches. Now, how hard do you think it is to turn things around then? How hard do you believe it would be to be able to give back the kind of civil liberties and the sense of freedom that Americans feel they've lost in recent years?
Well, obviously some of them don't feel they've lost it because they voted for this thing. I think it's ridiculous. You know, when government starts telling you they're going to protect you, watch out, because that means they're going to take your freedoms from you. I would rather face the terrorists than lose my freedoms. You know, I was bold enough to say in the book, give me liberty or give me death. Once we give up those freedoms, they become very, very difficult to get back. And right now, we've got an assault on the Constitution, an assault on all our freedoms, and they're doing it in the case of telling us they're protecting us. Like now they've got this border fence they plan on building on the border between Mexico and the United States. Well, they now approved that they can violate over 30 existing laws to build this fence along the border. And do they really believe a fence is going to work? The greatest fence in the history of mankind is called the Great Wall of China. And it was penetrated, I believe, in 1644 by the Mongols. It didn't work. Now it's nothing but a tourist attraction. I would hope that if they do build this fence along the border, they make it tourist friendly, so there'll be something good to become of it. And when it's built, I'm going to climb it the opposite way in protest. I'm going out towards the Mexican side because I want people to wake up to the fact that a fence today, supposedly to keep people out, might be a fence to keep you in 10 years from now, and I personally don't want to live in East Berlin.
It's easy for me to tell when a Republican or Democrat is telling the truth. It's when they're calling the other a liar. Restoring truth and honesty to government, when they don't uphold their oath to the Constitution of the United States. We went to war without a declaration of war. That's a congressional power. The Congress, everybody there took an oath to the United States Constitution to defend the Constitution. That's a congressional power that cannot be delegated to the chief executive. Sure, he can command troops when the nation is in danger or when the nation's attacked. But he can't go to war without a declaration of war, and Congress cannot delegate that authority. They take an oath to support the Constitution, and then they violate it the first day they're in office. Anybody that voted to authorize President Bush to have power to initiate attack against Iraq is guilty of violating their oath to office. We need term limits. We need term limits. We don't need hereditary title to a district. We have to stop giving up principle for value, because when you do that, you'll end up with neither.
defense of liberty is no vice. Let me remind you also that moderation in the pursuit of justice is no